not no other go, you can view my this live session later when you're free, and when you're having your lunch and just having a leisure period, leisure time, break time, just listen. That's all. That's enough. So now we are going to have here we have now physiological factors determining components of physical fitness. We all know we have 5 components of physical fitness, and that is strength, speed, endurance, flexibility, then explosive power. So how these physiological factors determine? Physiology is about improving the performance by knowing how the body functions during exercise. So physiology, keep in mind, it's how body functions during exercise. Okay, and using scientific principles to allow your body to train better, perform better, and recover quicker. So physiology helps athletes to achieve their goals. So here physiological factors, that is determining components of physical fitness. Here we have the factors determining strength, then factors determining speed, factors determining endurance, factors determining flexibility. So we know strength this is a physical ability of an individual. If they have a good strength, they are good at throwing events, and strength is also required for other aspects too. And then if they are good in speed, they will be good in 50 meters short distance. If they are good in we are good in endurance, then we'll be going for a long distance run or middle distance run like 1500, 3000, and the long run, marathon and all that. And flexibility, we all know, if you are good in flexibility, you will be good in stretching the joints, like range of movement of joint is maximum, like each joint we are able to stretch maximum. Yoga is the best example. So let's see physiological factors determining strength. Strength is determined as the greatest amount of force that muscles can produce in a single and maximal effort. Okay, in a single and maximum effort. When you are throwing shot put, what happens? Within within a single movement, you are just throwing with complete force, right? So it's the greatest amount of force that muscles can produce in a single and maximal effort. This depends on the following physiological factors. First one is muscle cross sectional area. Muscle cross sectional area. Second point is types of muscle fibers. Third is muscle length. Then age factors. Then gender, being a female and male, there is a difference. Point of tendon insertion, and then nerve impulses, energy level. So these are all important for a strength. Okay. So when we take up muscle cross sectional area, the cross sectional area is generally measured with grit measurement. Okay, grit measurement is used to measure it. The muscles have bigger cross sectional area, has more strength because larger muscles have better quality of actin and myosin filaments. So actin and myosin filaments must be better quality, and the larger muscles have the better quality of actin and myosin filaments. Even number of cross bridges is also more in bigger muscles. So you can see the weightlifters and then bodybuilders, you will find those muscles with all that bulges. Then types of muscle fibers. The strength largely depends on the types of muscle fibers. Human muscles have 2 basic type of fibers and are known as slow twitch and fast twitch fibers. Okay, they are small twitch and fast twitch, slow and fast twitch. Okay, every individual has different ratio of slow twitch and fast twitch fibers. So in foreign countries, they take up this important thing, and then they tell you which event is best for you. But we in India, we determine our strength, speed and all that with the test which we conduct, fitness test. So that's more perfect actually, but easiest way is by through your fiber. Okay, then muscle length. All individuals have different length of muscles. Persons with relatively long muscles have greater potential for developing size and strength than persons with relatively short muscles. So long muscles and short muscles and greater potential for developing size and strength must have long muscles. Okay, age. As per age, the age cannot be controlled, but people of all ages can develop their muscles. However, the rate of strength of the muscle is more in the age from 10 to 20 years. The strength changes with increase in the age after 20 years of age. That is why we should keep doing our strength training, and strength training is good right from 17 years. Okay, the weightlifting and all, weight training, all that is best after 17 years. Then gender, it is well known that gender means male, female. It is well known that gender does not affect the quality of our muscle, but does influence the quantity. The men and women have similar tissues, but men have bigger muscle size, leading to better strength as compared to women. That is why most of the men are stronger than most of the women. So compared to men and women, when we compare, they have the similar tissue, but men have bigger muscle size, okay, which leads to the better strength. Point of tendon insertion. Muscle strength is influenced by the point of tendon, okay, insertion of an individual. For example, two person have same muscles, the length but point of insertion is different. The tendon insertion attached with the respective bone produces better strength. So this is tendon insertion. We while throwing shot put, while throwing discus, and even during hammer throw, you can find the difference. Okay. Nerve impulses. The muscular strength also depends on nerve impulses and number of motor units. The intensity and number of motor units determines the muscle strength. So muscle strength, nerve impulses also plays important role. Energy level. Okay, this is more important because each of us may be of same height, weight and all that, but while throwing, some of us may have a good energy and some of us may differ. So the energy of muscular contraction is derived from the breaking down of phosphogens, breaking down of phosphogens, ATP and CP. The strength also depends on level of phosphogen stores in the body. Particularly, it is required more for strength endurance. So hope you people are able to understand this. It's related to strength. You need to know how it is being determined. And then now about speed. We all know speed is for short, quicker distance covering, and speed is defined as the maximal speed that can be reached by part or all of the body. So it's not that the complete body is to be involved. Part of the body also is involved during some activity like baseball, playing. You will have to speed up to accelerate the ball. So here also speed matters, but partially we are doing it. So basically it is the rate of successive movements of the body. It is ability of the body to perform similar movements consecutively at the fastest rate. In few sports, the body as a whole does not move fast, but a part of the body does. The best example is of baseball. Pitching. In this action, the hand attains more speed to accelerate the ball while lower body remains slow. So this is about partial movement, how it takes place while speed happens. So here the factors that determines the speed are, okay, the factors here are nervous system and its mobility, composition of muscle fibers, then flexibility, then postpogens, for stores. So here when we take up to generate more speed in the muscles, more speed, the muscles have to contract and relax at maximal speed. So must contract and relax at maximal speed. These actions are possible when motor impulses from central nervous system initiates. So when the motor impulses from central nervous system initiates, okay, the speed of the person largely depends on mobility of nervous system. Composition of muscle fibers. Skeletal muscle is made up of bundles of individual muscle fibers. These fibers contain many myofibrils. It is generally accepted that muscle fiber types can be broken down into two main following types. So skeletal muscle is made up of bundles of individual muscle fibers. These fibers contain many myofibrils. It is generally accepted that muscle fibers fiber types can be broken into two main following types, that is slow twitch muscle fiber, fast twitch muscle fiber. Generally, the body has equal percent of slow twitch and fast twitch fibers in most of the muscles used for movement. But having more fast twitch fibers can be an asset to a sprinter for better speed. So, a sprinter must have fast twitch fibers. Okay. Flexibility is referred to as a range of movement around the joint. Every individual has different type of flexibility. Better flexibility around the joints gives more range of movement to the muscles, which can be helpful in generating better speed. To have a better speed, we need good flexibility. Then phosphogen stores, as we read it, ATP, ACP. To exhibit speed performance, muscles need high amount of energy. The amount of phosphogens stores in the muscles determine the speed movement. So now endurance. Endurance, we all know, is the ability of the body to work for long time without getting fatigue. So the following are physiological factors determining endurance: maximal oxygen uptake, pulmonary diffusion, then cardiac output, blood volume, lactate threshold, hydration, slow twitch muscle fibers. Okay, this is for endurance. So this time I went for 25 rounds of a 400 meters track, that is almost 10, it's a 10k marathon running on the track, and I really was like feeling that I will come out, but the more I started running, I started gaining my speed. I mean, I could maintain my same speed and I didn't come out of the track. So I understood that I am good at endurance. Little more practice would have given me even gold. I bagged only bronze. So let's see the factors which determines endurance. Once again, I'll tell you, it's the ability of the body to work for long time without getting fatigue, without becoming tired, the long time work of the body. Okay. Maximum oxygen uptake is VO2 maximum. It's called as VO2, volume of oxygen, VO2 maximum, that is maximal oxygen uptake. Maximum oxygen uptake refers to the highest rate at which oxygen can be taken up and consumed by the body during intense exercise. The body gets energy from continuous production of ATP. So continuous production of ATP when happens, body gets the energy. So maximum oxygen uptake refers to the highest rate at which oxygen can be taken up and consumed by the body during intense exercise. The body gets energy from continuous production of ATP. Okay, adrenotriphosphate. Then pulmonary diffusion, the most important function of lungs is to transfer oxygen from the atmosphere to the blood and the removal of carbon dioxide from the body. Pulmonary diffusion is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the lungs and blood. Better pulmonary diffusion leads to better endurance. So better pulmonary diffusion leads to better endurance. So this is pulmonary diffusion. That is the most important function of lungs is to transfer oxygen from the atmosphere to the blood and the removal of carbon dioxide from the body. The pulmonary diffusion is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the lungs and the blood. Okay, better pulmonary diffusion leads to better endurance. So cardiac output refers to the efficiency of heart to circulate blood to the body per minute. Circulate blood to the body per minute. So what is cardiac output? Cardiac output refers to the efficiency of heart to circulate blood to the body per minute. It is circulated by the product of heart rate and stroke volume. It is circulated by the product of heart rate and stroke volume, which is reported in liters per minute. A person having better cardiac output leads to better circulation, and this leads for better oxygen transport. The better cardiac output leads to better endurance. So better cardiac output leads to better endurance. So as I said, cardiac output refers to the efficiency of heart to circulate blood to the body per minute. Okay, so what is blood volume? Blood volume for endurance activities, the working muscles demand considerable more oxygen and nutrients. The oxygen is transported through blood. Regular and intense endurance training increases blood volumes. This determines the endurance of the person. So blood volume also matters. Blood volume is for endurance activity, the working muscles demand considerably more oxygen and nutrients. The oxygen is transported through blood. Regular and intense endurance training increases blood volume. So to increase the blood volume, you should go for a regular training and that increases your blood volume. This determines the endurance of the person. Now lactate threshold. So the lactate threshold, this is more important, refers to the intensity of exercise at which there is an immediate increase in blood lactate levels. So the lactate threshold refers to the intensity of exercise at which there is an immediate increase in blood lactate levels. Every individual has different lactate threshold. Better lactate threshold leads to better endurance. In 1996, Cardle, and Catch did a study and found that in untrained endurance individual, the lactate threshold occurs at approximately 50 to 60% of volume VO2 maximum. Okay, and even it was found that in some world-class endurance runners, it was up from 80 to 90% of VO2 maximum. Okay, so in a untrained endurance individual, the lactate threshold occurs at approximately 50 to 60%, okay, of volume VO2 maximal. However, the trained endurance athlete had the lactate threshold to 75% of VO2 max. Even it was found that in some world-class endurance runners, it was found 80 to 90% of VO2 maximum. Hydration. Endurance activities often result to excessive sweating. This results in substantial fluid loss and impaired endurance for performance. Dehydration leads to decrease in endurance. Hydrating athlete is very important, especially in marathon runners. So hydration is one factor that determines your endurance. Slow twitch. Slow twitch. So just a minute, I will just find out somebody has come and. So I will just come back to you. Until then, you can refer to the notebook and so the milk, which is the complete food, came just now. So I cannot stop that. If you are in a physical activity and you need to have a good endurance, you need this. So please wait. Thanks. So we were talking about our fitness, physical fitness components, and meanwhile we had a disturbance. Just a minute, I will come back to you. So we spoke about slow twitch muscles, the fibers. We know for speed we need a fast twitch muscle fibers, and for endurance the more slow twitch fibers yields better energy to the exercising muscles during endurance activity. With training, one can change the proportion of the fibers between fast and slow. However, studies indicate that these changes are not permanent. So that was about your endurance determination. Now for the flexibility and determination, the flexibility is defined as maximum range of movement possible at a joint. So what are the points that determines our flexibility? Structure of the joint, elasticity of the ligament, muscular strength, stretchability of muscles, age, and then we'll go back. Now let us see this. Structure of the joint. A joint is formed where two or more bones come in close contact. Is the body and are attached to each other by ligament or cartilages. There are established ranges that are considered normal for various joints in the body. The movement around the joint depends on its type. For example, shoulder joint has greater mobility than knee joint. So it depends on the joint of which we are going to involve in the movement. Then elasticity of ligaments. Ligament is the connective tissue that connects two or more bones around the joints. So it's a connective tissue and it joins two or more bones around the joints. The range of movement around the joint depends on the elasticity of the ligaments. It has been observed that due to long-term training, the elasticity of ligaments increases, and that leads to better flexibility. So muscular strength is next. The range of movement of joint depends on strength of related muscles. Stronger muscles can pull the bones of the joint more. This results in better flexibility. Then what is stretchability of muscles? The regular exercise keeps the muscle stretchability in good form and results in better flexibility. The antagonist muscles have to stretch for more range of movement around the joint. Now age. It is well known that children are better at flexibility than adults. So flexibility is strongly correlated with age. The range of motion around the joint is affected by the health of an individual. Of the it depends on the health of the tendon, then ligament, okay, of the tendons, ligaments, and muscles surrounding the joint. Some diseases like arthritis, osteoporosis caused due to old age can reduce the flexibility. Since flexibility is not solely determined by age, and elderly people can exhibit great flexibility if they adopt healthy fitness routines. Gender: female exhibit better flexibility than males. There is anatomical differences that leads to this. For example, in females, the width of the pelvis is wider and more circular, giving a greater range of motion. So this is about the complete physiology and its effect on our physical motor abilities to keep ourselves fit. Okay, so let us see what is aerobic exercise. Is any type of cardiovascular conditioning. It can include activities like brisk walking, running, cycling, etc. Probably known as cardio. Its definition: aerobic exercise means with oxygen. Your breathing and heart rate will increase during aerobic activities. What is anaerobic exercise? Is any activity that breaks down glucose for energy without using oxygen. Okay, so it is a breakdown of glucose for energy without using oxygen. Generally, these activities are of short length and high intensity. The idea is that a lot of energy is released within small period of time, and your oxygen demand surpasses the oxygen supply. ATP we were reading. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. ATP is complex organic chemical that provides energy to drive many processes in living cells: nerve impulses, propagation, muscle contraction, and chemical synthesis. Then what is ATP PCR? Known also as immediate energy system, phosphogen system, and lactic anaerobic system. The ATP PCR system is the main energy provider for a high intensity exercise of short duration up to 10 seconds. For example, lifting, then a weight, swinging a golf, and then doing a push up and throwing a hammer. What is myoglobin? Is a red iron containing protein pigment in muscles that is similar to hemoglobin. Okay. And then what is mitochondria? Any of various round or long cellular organelles of most eukaryotes that are found outside the nucleus, produces energy for the cell through cellular respiration and are rich in fats, proteins, and enzymes. Okay, so these are the various effects of exercises on cardiorespiratory system. When you do exercise, what happens? Okay, respiratory system, then cardiovascular system, then we'll go to muscular system. So let's see cardiorespiratory system. Here we have cardiovascular system. Cardiorespiratory system is again respiratory system. So when these two systems together are known as cardiorespiratory system, cardiovascular system and respiratory system. Cardiovascular system, it consists of heart, blood cells, and blood. Its major function is to deliver oxygen and nutrients, remove carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste products, to transport hormone and other molecules, to support thermoregulation and control of body fluid balance, and regulate the immune function. Then respiratory system consists of nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx. Major functions include transporting air to the lungs, exchanging gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide between the air and blood, and regulating blood pH. Whatever we perform any strenuous exercise, the demand of oxygen increases. Therefore, during exercise, the supply of oxygen to the muscles is the urgent need, as oxygen cannot be stored in muscles. Hence, heart functions faster to increase the systematic circulation as well as the pulmonary circulation. Effects of exercise on cardiovascular system. What happens? It's a short term increase in heart rate, increased blood circulation, then blood flow increases, blood pressure increases, stroke volume increases, cardiac output increases. Then low level of accumulation of lactic acid, blood volume increases, size and strength of heart increases. Then long term it is, then increases in capillaries networks, increase in stroke volume and cardiac output, then normal blood pressure, and then resting heart rate decreases. So these are the various things that happens during the exercises. So this is short term, and this one is short term, what all things happen and with the exercise. So hope this pictures will be helpful. And long term, I said size and strength of heart increases, that is long term benefits. Blood volume increases, then low level of accumulation of lactic acid, and then increase in capillaries network, increase in stroke volume and cardiac output, normal blood pressure. These are all long term benefits. Resting heart rate decreases. So these are all long term, and the above ones were short term. Short term, I said increase in heart rate, increased blood circulation, increased blood flows, and then blood pressure increases, stroke volume increases, cardiac output increases. So these things, if you remember, whenever we do exercise, our organs function better. We all know it. So these were the short term and long term benefits. So some more points you can just see it and then make it your own scientific way. Short term effects of exercise on cardiovascular. So you can see here maximal exercise and what happens. Beats, it increases to 200. Okay. So rest level, and then after exercise what happens. So while rest it is only 72. Once you start doing exercise, it increases. The heart rate increases with the intensity of exercise. The normal heart rate is 72 beats per minute and can rise up to 200 beats per minute. It is also observed that increase of heart rate is comparatively slow in trained person. Increased blood circulation. So you can see here how the blood circulation happens while we have a dynamic exercises. So 72 is our pulse rate, and then it increases diastolic, diastolic and systolic. Okay. So here we will see it. As the heart rate increases, blood circulation also increases in the body to deliver the oxygen to muscles. With the result, flow of blood increases to tissues or organs. Then increased blood pressure. During strenuous exercise, systolic blood pressure increases, whereas diastolic blood pressure changes to a small extent. So it changes to a small extent, that's all. Diastolic changes happens to a small extent, but systolic increases. So you can see from 120 to 180 it goes. So this is the blood pressure. Increased stroke volume. The increased stroke volume you can see here. Supravena cava, then right pulmonary artery, then right coronary artery, inferior vena cava, apex, left coronary, then left pulmonary aorta. So here the volume of blood pumped during one beat is called stroke volume. The normal stroke volume is between 70 ml and 80 ml per beat in trained male athlete. During strenuous activity, it may reach up to 160 ml per beat. Okay, increased cardiac output. The cardiac output also increases with physical exercise because with exercise heart rate as well as stroke volume increases. The cardiac output also increases with physical exercise because with exercise heart rate as well as stroke volume increases. Once the heart rate and stroke volume increases, the cardiac output also increases. What is stroke volume? The volume of blood pumped during one beat is stroke volume. Okay, the volume of blood pumped during one beat is called stroke volume. So remember this. And now for the long term benefits, we saw the short term and now long term benefits. Increased size and strength of heart. The effect of exercise is well established, and then continuous aerobic exercises helps to increase the strength and size of the heart for better performance. The heart hypertrophy takes place in endurance trained athlete. Cardiac hypertrophy is found more. The bigger heart is also called as athletic heart. The increase in the hypertrophy is found. The bigger heart is also called athletic heart. The increase in the size of the heart takes place with an increase in left ventricular cavity. It is found to be more thickness of left ventricle. It is found in the, distance runners and swimmers. However, in wrestlers, weightlifters and throwers, the thickness of left ventricular walls is increased. So, in the wrestlers, weightlifters and throwers, the thickness of left ventricular walls is increased. Okay. So, this is the thickness increases in these players, and the heart takes place, that is increase in the size of the heart takes place in left ventricular of mostly it is found for distance runners and swimmers. Okay. Now low level of accumulation of lactic acid. Anaerobic respiration is process of converting glucose into energy without oxygen. So our glucose is being converted into energy without oxygen. During conversion from glucose to energy, lactic acid is created as waste product. Okay, lactic acid is created as waste product. It makes the muscles tired and painful. Regular exercises prepares muscles to adjust to working with lower levels of oxygen, and circulatory system develops itself to transport oxygen to different parts of the body, resulting in low levels of lactic acid. So lactic acid is formed once the glucose is converted into energy without oxygen, and this lactic acid results in pain, creating a waste product. It makes the muscles tired and painful. So by the regular practice of exercises, our lactic acid formation level is low. So decrease in resting heart rate as a result of long-term training program. The resting heart rate decreases. The basal heart rate is less in trained persons as compared to untrained. The basal heart rate is less in endurance trained athlete due to increase in heart size and stroke volume. Normal blood pressure. It is evident from many studies that the blood pressure in a trained person is more stable as compared to the untrained. Regular exercises keeps the blood pressure normal. Increase in stroke volume. Stroke volume is higher in trained person as compared to untrained. In an untrained person, the normal stroke volume is 70 to 75 ml per beat, whereas endurance trained athletes have normal stroke volume 100 to 115 ml per beat. The maximal stroke volume for endurance trained athlete may reach up to 170 ml per beat, whereas maximal stroke volume for untrained can reach up to 120 ml per beat. So now about increase in capillaries network. Capillaries network increases to achieve the demand for oxygen. During exercise, the demand is placed on different parts of the body and the capillary density improves. Due to increased the density, greater oxygen is transported up muscles and then ability increases to perform intense exercises. Increase in stroke volume and cardiac output. The cardiac output is more in trained athlete as compared to untrained. The maximal cardiac output may reach value of 30 liters per minute in trained person, whereas maximal cardiac output in untrained can reach only to 20 liter per minute. Heart pumps blood more efficiently with increase in stroke volume and cardiac output. Then coronary circulation. Training has great impact on the coronary circulation. It is observed that coronary circulation is better in trained as compared to untrained. Regular exercises keeps the blood pressure normal. So this is the very important point which we need to know. So this is non-athletes. This is non-endurance athlete like a wrestler. It is thick, and here it is ventricular cavity increases, okay, and the size increases, okay, for the endurance athletes. So let's see the next point, total blood volume. The total blood volume in untrained is less as compared to trained. Average untrained young adults have 5.7 liter blood volume, whereas trained have 6.4 liters. Okay, so this is the difference. Decrease in maximal heart rate and then reduced cardiac output. Compression of 3 changes which decreases cardiovascular efficiency. So these 3 changes will decrease cardiovascular efficiency. What will happen if there is a decrease in maximal heart rate and reduced cardiac output, then increase in blood pressure? All these things will decrease the cardiovascular efficiency. Okay. Due to aging, there is no significant change in basal heart rate, but the maximal heart rate decreases with the age. Approximately the heart rate decreases as per the following relation: maximal heart rate 220 minus age in years. And then aging leads to decrease in cardiac output because the maximal heart rate decreases with age. There is also moderate decrease of stroke volume with age due to decrease in amount of blood flow in ventricles to be ejected. An increase in resistance when blood is forced out. And then increase in blood pressure. The blood pressure increases with age due to an increase in rigidity of blood vessels. So that was about circulatory system. Now in respiratory system, I'll finish with the muscular system actually. So please be with me. It's very important topic, so I thought I'll complete now and then the rest ones I'll take it later. The demand of oxygen increases due to participation in physical activity. During exercise, the level of carbon dioxide increases in blood. So carbon dioxide is acidic in medium, and this stimulates respiratory center in the medulla oblongata. Like this, the breathing frequency increases. Effects of exercise on respiratory system. Short term is respiratory rate increases, tidal volume increases, rate of exchange of gas increases. Then long term efficiency of respiratory muscles increases, lung volume increases, pulmonary diffusion increases, residual volume increases. So these are the extension activity. Working in group creates a working model of lungs. Then research respiratory diseases and how they affect the functions of the respiratory system. So all these are activities, you can do it later. Now let us see in elaborate short-term effects of exercise. So these are the effects of exercise on respiratory system. During the exercise, respiratory rate increases. Okay, During the exercise, the increased demand of oxygen increases the rate of breathing. The normal respiratory rate of an individual at rest is 12 to 20 breath per minute. During exercise is increases to 40 breath per minute. Tidal volume increases. The amount of air inhaled and exhaled in one breath is known as tidal volume. Tidal volume increases as a result of exercise to take in more oxygen and remove carbon dioxide from our body. Rate of exchange of gas increases. Regular exercise increases the rate of exchange of gas in lungs. So now long-term effects on exercise. Increased efficiency of respiratory muscles. Efficiency of respiratory muscles increases due to regular exercise. Inhalation and exhalation become fluent. This helps to meet the demand of oxygen. An increased lung volume. Long duration continuous exercise help to increase the capacity and volume of lungs. Vital capacity increases as compared to that of a normal individual. So vital capacity also increases. So there is an increase, helps to increase the capacity and volume of lungs, and then vital capacity also increases to that of a normal individual. Now, increased pulmonary diffusion, it is the capacity of the lungs to allow oxygen and carbon dioxide to pass in and out of the blood. Regular exercise training develops the scope of increasing exchange of gases to oxygen, and in this process the size of the alveoli also increases. Increased residual volume, the lungs do not collapse completely following maximal expiration. Okay, a certain volume of air remains within the lungs and is known as residual volume. Regular exercise increases residual volume that helps to exchange the gases in normal limits. So this is your residual volume. So even during the exhausted time we do not collapse because we have a certain amount of oxygen left out. It doesn't allow us to collapse completely because the residual volume is always there, and with normal exercises, with the exercises we it helps to exchange the gases in normal limits. Okay, so effect of exercise on muscular system now. Okay, what happens to the muscular system when we do the exercises? So here it is long term and short term. Short term is increased blood supply, then increased muscle temperature, increased muscle flexibility, accumulation of lactate, micro tear in muscle fibers. And then what happens? Long term hypertrophy of muscles, increase in strength of ligaments and tendons, and then increase in size and number of mitochondria, increase in myoglobin storage, increase in glycogen storage, and then increase in oxidation metabolism, increase in lactate acid tolerance. So let's see it. So muscles, I think as per the important questions, this muscles, there is a lot of chance we may get this question. So please be thorough with it also. Okay, muscles, you will have to make your memory stronger. Just imagine what happens to your body. Once you imagine it, it becomes a good memory also. So when you are doing exercise, what happens? Once you remember that, surely it becomes a strong memory to you. So short-term effect of exercise on muscular system, increased blood supply. In order to match demand of fuel to muscles, the supply or concentration of blood increases in the whole body during an exercise. Okay, during an exercise or in the particular muscle group where activity is largely impacted. Increased muscle temperature, there is a blood circulation being increased while you do the exercises. Okay, that you keep in mind. So match demand of fuel to muscles. The supply or concentration of blood increases in the whole body during an exercise, or in the particular muscle group where activity is largely impacted. Increased muscle temperature. Muscles demand energy during exercise, which comes from the temperature of which comes from contracting muscles. During the process, a lot of heat energy is generated, which increases the temperature of the muscles or the body. So, contracting muscles happens to while doing the exercise, and lot of heat is being generated, which increases the temperature of muscles. Increased muscle flexibility. Stretching and mobility exercises also play a dominant role in increasing muscular flexibility. So, elasticity of muscles increase due to increase in blood flow. Elasticity of exercise muscles increases due to increase in blood flow and rise in the temperature. So, increases muscle flexibility. Because of exercise, elasticity of muscles increases due to the increase in blood flow and rise in the temperature. Okay. Then accumulation of lactate. If blood supply does not provide appropriate volume of oxygen to muscles, accumulation of lactic acid in muscles takes place, which results in pain and soreness in muscles. And then micro tears in muscle fibers. Muscle tissue is placed under stress during exercise, which results in micro tears in muscle fibers. So this is short term. Now long term. So we can see here anaerobic activity, what happens. So more sustained exercise, more intense exercise, blood glucose trends down, blood glucose trends up. So anaerobic, what happens? Mixed aerobic and anaerobic activity. So this is the chart. Okay, now here long-term effect of exercises. Hypertrophy of muscles. Exercise leads to increase in thickness of muscle fibers. That results in increase in muscle size called hypertrophy. So muscle size increases, and that's called as hypertrophy. Okay, thickness of muscles fibers, that results in the muscle size called hypertrophy. And then increase in strength of ligaments and tendons. So regular exercise helps to strengthen bones, ligaments and tendons. It promotes performance and prevents injuries. Then increase in size and number of mitochondria. Aerobic exercises increases the size and number of mitochondria, which take in more oxygen and produce more ATP and energy. Increases the size and number of mitochondria, which takes in more oxygen and produces more ATP and adenosine triphosphate and energy. So, and then increase in myoglobin storage. Increases the storage of myoglobin that transports oxygen to mitochondria. Okay, myoglobin in large amount means myoglobin large amount of oxygen and energy. Okay, and then increase in glycogen storage. It is generally stored in muscles and livers. Regular exercise helps in increase the storage of glycogen, which may give continuous energy for 90 to 120 minutes. And then increase in oxidation and metabolism. Long-term exercise demand a lot of energy, and to meet this demand, metabolism increases and due to oxidation of fat. This leads to increase in provision of energy. And then increase in lactate acid tolerance. Due to accumulation of lactate acid, regular exercise helps to tolerate pain in the muscles. So this is about muscles. So about aging, we all know what is aging. It's begins at conception and continues for a long as we live. Okay. right from conception when the child is in the stomach, from there, and it continues until we live. So considered as a process of becoming older, a process that is genetically determined and environmentally modulated. So here are the changes. Neural function change happens due to physiological changes due to age. Physiological changes, what happens, neural functions are changing, and then muscular strength decreases, then body composition is different, pulmonary function, then endocrine changes, bone mass, then cardiovascular function. So due to aging, what happens, muscular strength is the maximal force that muscle or muscle group can generate. Men and women usually attain their highest strength levels between ages 20 to 40. The time when muscles cross sectional area is largest. Concentric strength of most muscle groups. So with age, our muscle capacity declines. So slowly at first, and then more rapidly after middle age. Decline in eccentric strength begins at a later age and progresses more slowly than those in concentric strength. So neural function, when we take up declines, neural function declines in the number of spinal cord axons and nerve conductions velocity, reflects the cumulative effects of aging on central nervous system functioning. These changes are likely to contribute to the age-related reduction in neuromuscular performance assessed by simple and complex reaction and movement times. Then endocrine changes with aging. The endocrine system consists of a host organ, gland, minute quantities of chemical messenger hormones, and a target or receptor organ. Approximately 40% of individuals aged between 65 to 75 years and 50% of those older than age 80 have impaired glucose tolerance, leading to type 2 diabetic. Thyroid dysfunction, primarily from lowered pituitary gland release of the thyroid stimulating hormone thyrotrophin, and reduced output of thyroxine, is commonly among the elderly. This directly affects metabolic function, including decreased glucose metabolism and protein synthesis. So endocrine changes happens with the aging. Consists of host organ, okay, the gland, then minute quantities of chemical messengers, that is hormones, and a target or receptor organ. So these are all things which we must know. So endocrine changes. Then pulmonary function, the mechanical constraints on the pulmonary system progress with age to cause the deterioration in static and dynamic lung function measures. Also, the pulmonary ventilation and gas exchange kinetics during the transition from rest to submaximal exercise slow substantially. Then cardiovascular function, because of a lower maximum heart rate, maximum cardiac output typically decreases with age in trained and untrained men and women. Reduced peripheral blood flow capacity accompanies age-related decreases in muscle mass. Sedentary living reduces losses in the functional capacity. Then body composition. Body composition is the percentage of fat, bone, water, and muscle. Percentage of fat, bone, water, and muscle. After the age of 60, total body mass decreases despite increasing body fat. Then bone mass, it is a measure of the amount of calcium and phosphorus contained in a certain volume of bone. Osteoporosis poses a major problem with aging. In this condition, it produces loss of bone mass as the aging skeleton demineralizes and becomes porous. Bone mass can decrease by 30% to 50% in persons older than age 60. So now I'll end with this. Next session will be sports injuries. Okay, thank you, and join me sooner.